Oh no!
So in today's world where you're fighting many things, the subjects that are actually pushing what we see as major foundations, not small things that are changing the way we raise our children, the way we see the future going and what is guiding it from a public into the homes, aspect, and it's changing it, and it's putting us all in a spot with these major things being, what's the trans community doing? Is that okay to say? Is it actually going to be deemed legal, not legal? They're pushing it through education. They're questioning, is it okay for a man to be in women's sports as long as he identifies as it, as a woman, and if he is allowed because, well, we say it's gender identity. But yet, on the same hand, we want to demonize men for being men traits. So in one sense, we don't like the fact that men act like men. As long as they say they're a woman, we will actually allow them to go bully women in sports. There's tons of stuff that just comes down to, they say it's male toxicity. They say it's males, you're okay under this rule, but you're not under this rule. And it's getting very confusing for everybody, even adults, but yet they're putting it and integrating it into our children's school and education. So they will grow up not knowing anything other than this crazy, just mayhem. So in nowadays world, how would a guy go about finding some kind of path that he would say is the correct path to a man being a man? How does a guy guide himself in that way that would actually suit and benefit a man who just wants to be a man, which is the vast majority of the population, and which has always been what men want to do, what women want men to do, what society needs men to do. So when we get them back, we were going to talk more about the discussion of how that transformation is affecting and how it is something that we need to dig into, and we'll further discuss what's going on and see what's going on and how to transform that back into men being men. Welcome back to the Coach YaYa channel. I'm YaYa, and we actually are known as Salty Subjects. Why? Because if you look up Salty Subjects, it's pretty much what we do. We actually discuss things that nobody actually wants to discuss because they're uncomfortable. They are the spots that everyone actually wants to be silent, sneak back in the crowd and say, I'm not going to go there because I'm not going to risk my life, my career, my reputation to actually dig into something I know has no winning in. That's not fair to anybody. So here we are, ready to tackle and take on, as always, at the Coach YaYa channel and Salty Subjects, the spot that nobody actually wants to touch. That's what we're called to do. And so if you haven't heard the part 1 and part 2, there's parts of this I would recommend would benefit you to go back and listen to what it is to be a man. This is not some mockery or some spin-off of like Matt Walsh's What's to Be a Woman, but has brought so much into our societies and what we are actually fighting, not only as America, a nation, but also in the Western culture and modern nations. And they actually are confusing a lot of what is going on in modern nations and redefining things that are not really definable. There's science. And we can't forget that, but we are slowly forgetting that to such a degree. It is distracted, and guys, believe me, this is one of their main distractions, is to get you off of the subject of just keeping things simple. What's a man? What does it mean to be a man? So let's get into that, and we'll actually discuss how that gap was first created, what's going on that's creating this major gap, where we're at right now. And I'm going to brief the gap created because we've already discussed that. That's how we went from part 1, part 2, and this is part 3. So check out part 1, part 2 if you haven't, and get you caught up. And we'll actually take off from right now. We're talking from present day, seeing what we can do to move into the future of helping men deal with these subjects, and specifically what they can do to move forward in a healthy way and live a fulfilling life as actually being a man. And that's a sad thing that seems like a touchy subject. So first off, let's dig into what's going on. What's going on, we're seeing more than ever, people right now, if you get on YouTube, social media, all these things, people are really seeking a way and they can find guidance, because there's been a very, very much lacking in guidance, but a very dominating thing to say, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's always boiling down to, that will get you in trouble. And I don't care, you don't have any rights, don't have any rules. And it is going to, in one way or another, whether they call it impeding or not, it is impeding on the fact that men are men, and it's now going into the nuclear family. And so this nuclear family concept is becoming a major struggle, and no one saw it coming. Why? Because it is innate. It is a natural thing in which nobody actually really thought it was a discussion, and now it has been a complete rush, and it has just been bombarded with telling people that they don't have the right to think the way they think, because that's old and it's offensive, and people are sitting there ringing the bell of the Me Too's. They're ringing the bell of the, how dare you, you're an alt-right, you're crazy, you don't have the right because you have hurt my feelings. And if this hurts your feelings, I'm just going to be forthright in saying, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Truth trumps feelings. Has been said time after time, whether you're talking as simple as science, Tom McDonald, or just people being realistic. So if you don't like that and that offends you, I think you should really actually continue listening to this, and maybe you can further get into this discussion so we can have it out. We love that. We have people who are constantly telling us, who are you to say? And we have to continually push back, but we're not pushing back. We're holding our ground to saying, I'm not saying. Science has said, God has said, logic has said. These are things that you should not feel awkward and have to apologize for being honest, truthful, realistic. That's done out of love. We do this out of love. We're not doing it to be correct. We're not doing it to in any way impose on anybody else. What we're doing it to is to free people. Stand strong in that. That's what they want to take away, is the freedom to do that. So let's dig in. What is going on? Well, let's just take things that are actual evidence. You can look at any YouTube, social media. There is a major at the tip of everyone's tongue saying, you can't say this, you can't say this, there's new rules to this, there's new concepts, and if you disagree with it and you're like, when did this change? When did it need to be a subject? Look at the YouTube is so full of, if you get into YouTube, there is plethoras of people who are seeking motivational speeches. It has been a hot topic for the last several years, and it has been growing and growing and growing. Why? What changed? People 15, 20 years ago wanted to learn how to invest in real estate. Now they want to learn how to, the common is this something that will help me fight depression, anxieties, get me off of meds? Am I wrong? So the guidance that we have gotten lately is clear, and the proof is in the pudding that it is something that is not the same as it was 15 years ago, even 5 years ago. Let's be honest about that. Secondly, what it is a simple guidance to things that should be innate in life. Why is this? Well, just as Paul Harvey said back in If I Were the Devil, if you haven't heard that, I would highly recommend you going and looking at Paul Harvey, If I Were the Devil. You can YouTube it. It's, I think, 3 or 4 minutes long. Definitely look into it, because he wasn't a genius. He didn't have a crystal ball. He simply could see the handwriting on the wall and claimed, this is what's going to happen, and this is the order it takes to unravel a complete society, a complete belief. And when you do that, that is the end result is going to inevitably be funneled down to a realistic what the action and reaction is going to be. So if you're more curious about how this is being just foreseen and have any doubts in it, I would pause right now. I would go listen to If I Were the Devil by Paul Harvey. Keep in mind this was written in, I think, the mid-late 60s. We actually have a video that covers it and goes down word for word. So look in our videos. It is going to say If I Were the Devil, and look into it, because guys, I'm not claiming, we at this channel, the Salty Subjects Coach YaYa channel, we aren't claiming that we actually are just in any way intrinsically right. We are just calling out what we see. We are not trying to be the main player. We are simply being a whistleblower done out of love to protect those we love. People are actually looking for this guidance because they're fatherless homes. Their guidance is leaking away from anything known as a way of growing up through proper and actual, what we would recognize as innate or traditionally good guidance. And people hate the word traditional anymore. Why is that? It affects, and it actually is the pillar that they struggle to knock down in order to completely dismantle what has always worked. It's always been true. Is if you throw a hammer in the air and stand under it, no one's going to have sympathy for when it falls back down and hits you in the head, because what? There's some things that are just facts in science. We know about them. Why are we arguing them? If someone does that, I would put my bottom dollar it's going to come back down unless something major disrupts it and acts like gravity is not there. That's BS. That's what's going on. You take the father out of a home, you're going to watch children have this major change in how they actually are being brought up, their standards, their morals, their guidance. And what's replacing that? Education system. They're changing so many rules in the education system. It is sickening. It's scary. And if you don't think so, wake up. And if you don't have kids, you should still care, because it's still coming for you. That's just one step going further into all of us. If you do have kids, don't think it's going to end if, oh, I'm just going to take my kid out of public school and therefore it's all gone. It's not gone. It comes into social media. How many kids have a phone? How many people have a phone? This isn't just for kids. This is for society. And what do people commonly look for? They look for self-help. They look for guidance. They look for wisdom in trying to get out of this craziness. And that is why the craziness is creating them looking for a solution. That solution is very much, the harder they're pushing, it's evident through statistics. It's evident through what you can just see in any way, unarguably. The more that gets pushed in and taking away the nuclear family, the need for what has been tradition, it has got a backlash. People are trying to prepare. So you say, well, what is really going on? The system is failing people. And the more it fails people, the more they're in search of. Why? Because there is a human nature to have a logical understanding and to know what's right. When people say follow your heart, or people say it is better to be, wise and learn from a book, there's all these sayings that show what human nature is. And human nature is feeling the difference of a lacking in wisdom, a lacking in guidance, a lacking in knowing what truths are truths, and just like being able to be stable in that. And they're in search. So people start looking for mentors. That's like Tony Robbins. He came in at the perfect time. I'm a huge believer in Tony Robbins. If you don't understand his gist of who he is, start YouTubing him. He will change your life for the better. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your background is. Tony Robbins, if you ask me, he is the man. I'm such a believer of it. My life coach just got back from going to his live seminars, where it is very, very up close and personal to just, whether you need help, he will actually help that. Whether you need just some good guidance, or if you just want to take and you feel like, I'm kicking ass, I'm a rock star, I'm doing awesome, I just want to go to the next level. I'm a firm believer. I'm not trying to sell. I have zero association with him other than the fact that he, to me, is the icon of this is what our society is looking for. And that's how come he is so successful, because he came on the tail end and he has been around. He's close to retirement. I don't know if he'll ever retire, on this changing. And he has been a great influence. And we need to actually recognize, why is he needed? If we had a whole bunch of guns sold out of nowhere, you'd say, what is everyone scared of? Or why all the hunting? Or you would have a reason. So why does everyone need guidance and mentoring in every aspect of life? Why are they looking for it daily, so strongly in everything you look at? Well, they're desperately searching for help. Help to get back to reality. And you say, what is reality? Well, we're a few generations into it. So when you were raised a certain way and you didn't know what the good old days were, for starters, I don't believe in the good old days. I believe people choose to see the good in things, but there were simpler times, that's for sure. We are living the opposite end of simpler times. And the repercussion of this is showing up clear from orphanages and gangsters and the poor of the poor, the rich of the rich, to church, to morals and ethics, to careers and how you raise a family. It is poisoned. And I do see it as poison, everything. So people are in search of how do you balance this back out? They're desperately searching for it. And let me ask you an honest question. Sit down and think about this. How different would the world be if every person from birth got to have their own mentor? Not Google. Google doesn't understand you on a personal level. Everyone's an individual. Everyone has a separate experience that we call life. It doesn't matter. You can be raised in the same family and you can be married. It doesn't matter. Everybody has an individual life, but we all are funneling into one thing, and that is searching for help. And what difference would the world be if we actually could sit down and say, everyone from birth got their own personal mentor? How different would it be? Would it be amazing if when you had a struggle, doesn't matter if it was at the office or if it was in a relationship or if it was as you grow up, you have questions about your body changing. If you had a personal mentor you could go to, that like Jocko, David Goggins, Tony Robbins, a major influencer, would just sit down and be like, hey, you had a question? Let me sit down and have dinner with you and we'll talk about it. The world would be better, unquestionably. I don't know anybody who would be willing to argue that having a person with more knowledge than you, experience, and a love for you to go out of their way and help you would be better. That's why people are seeking it on all sorts of social medias and whatnot. But let me tell you something. This is the craziest thing to me that I can't hardly wrap my head around, because I'm sitting here going, if you really think about this, we all understand that we need some guidance, we need a mentor, we need all these things that are going to benefit us, right? And as we want this and we seek this, they used to have that in history. And people were like, they didn't have YouTube. We didn't have, like, you couldn't just Google something. Yeah, they did, guys. They had their own personal mentor. We called it a nuclear family. When families sat down and spent one-on-one time, you had a question, and your little kid who doesn't understand how to solve something, you would ask your parents. That's what it means to be a parent. Parents grow up and they learn, and then they actually understand things that as growing up children can't understand. Clear from puberty, how come my body's changing? As an adult, that's a simple question to answer. You've been through the puberty personally. You have seen that process, whether it's a mother talking to a daughter or father talking to a son. You've been there, you've done that, you understand it. you've read a few books, you blah, blah, blah. You were the perfect mentor. So why are people having to go to YouTube and all these things? Well, guys, this video is specifically for you. It's for women to understand. I hope that women can get out of this. The reason I would recommend women listening to this is because if you are the average woman nowadays and you are looking for a spouse of any kind, if you're a single mother and you're trying to raise a son. Before I met my wife, she was a single mother trying to raise a son, and there was quite a few things that she's an amazing person. As much as she's Wonder Woman in so many ways, well, she didn't have a you know what. There were certain things that she just didn't have the experience, but had the book and did her best. So if you're a woman, listen to this. Listen to it carefully, because I would say that a woman who understands what a true man is, if she does understand that, she will find herself a true man and she will live a much happier life. In statistics and just proof is in the pudding, innately, she will have the understanding of what was meant to be an actual partner. And just like if you're looking for a partner in business, you would want someone who fit the bill the best. So women, do not shy away and say this is for the guys. And guys, if you hear something that's for the women, understand, the more you understand about women, the more you will actually find yourself a true partner, the more you will actually guide yourself. Because you can't experience these things of the opposite sex, but you can understand enough what to look for. Just as you may not be great at math, but you understand what finding a good bank and accountant is, and they better be, and you know what to expect. Because if you didn't know what to expect that, well, you're going to end up with a crappy one that's going to show, and it's going to affect you later. So, talking about these mentors, they should be parents. Now, this is specifically for guys. What do guys used to do that actually was so different from now? Let's start with the obvious. They used to be present. They used to be the guy who went and explained through his actions. He was willing to sacrifice and work hard and bring home the bacon, so to say. And when he got done bringing home the bacon, he sat down and had it, broke bread with his family. He gave them that time and attention. So if there was questions, he could be that sit down Tony Robbins, Jocko, David, whatever. He could be that mentor. So first, you had to be present. Men used to be present. And it wasn't just about going to work, coming home, having dinner. You're going to go out with the guys, have a brewski. There's nothing wrong with this, but we've got this out of order. Responsibilities first. You don't just have a brewski in the middle of a work day. You take care of work first, and then we all know that you have one afterward when the time is appropriate, and you've already taken care of your daily duties, and you've put certain things first. Men used to go out and go above and beyond by camping, fishing, playing ball. They used to sit there, and when their kid didn't want to talk to them, they had enough wisdom and knowledge to say, something's wrong, what's going on? And the kid says nothing, and they would be able to be wise enough and set aside enough time to say, I can tell something's wrong. What is it? Oh, I'm getting bullied at school. They would teach their children how to not do school shootings, but handle it. Kids will be kids. No one's asking men to be perfect. They're asking them to at least avoid these majorities of these horrific things going on in society, such as school shootings going up, drug abuse, social and mental illnesses that have, everyone seems to be getting on pills because no one has the balls to say it. You remove the balls from the house, and then all of a sudden you have a loss of balls for talking about the subject. They go hand in hand. Let's just grow up and actually see for what it is. You got a bully messing with you, every father's going to be a different angle, but they're going to help deal with it. So bullying is changed in a lot of ways. I'm not saying it's gotten some magically changed for the better, worse, but I can't help but think Call me crazy. School shootings, gangs, these kids who you say that is horrific and is terrible to see in our society. Kids do such major things. The social media I watched just a couple of weeks ago, like a month or two ago, I don't know. It was fairly recent. I try not to fill my head with these things because my head should be full of things that are full of wisdom, that are going to bring profits to me and profits and dividends to those around me, whether they be my child, whether it be my wife, or whether they just be society in general. So I don't landmark these things excessively. I landmark the concept that they are now a new thing to watch out for. So I watched in the social media where a bunch of kids sat there and filmed another kid getting robbed and beaten for his shoes and stuff. And this isn't the first one. It was a joke for of us who grew up as we are actually millennials who get made fun of so much, that Seinfeld had that it should be a crime to be watching a crime and do nothing about it. But that's become famous. That's what's getting likes. That's what's I can't hardly break through on YouTube and get my face shown, but yet another one was a guy watched another man be stabbed to death. He pulled his phone out, walked up, and said, blankety blank, this is crazy. I watched this fool get killed, and took basically a selfie next to him. And he had some of the biggest likes. Don't fill your head full of this. Don't watch it. Don't support it. Sit back and take care of your family. Talk to your kids. How do you do that? That's the next question. How do you start to bridge this gap of what's going on in the world is so crazy and get back to what we know is good guidance, that mentoring, that fulfilling the spot as being a man? It's something, guys, that you go, you have to just sit back and say, how do I get back to being a man? Is about as difficult as saying, how do I become a person who becomes stronger? And you say, lift weights. And then and they want to argue with you, and you can fill your head full of these things that you can justify. What if? No what ifs. Go lift weights. You'll learn what's good, how your body reacts. It's really overcomplicated. Don't overcomplicate it. Start somewhere. So start by being a man, doing what men do, practicing that. Practice makes perfect. Strengthening by doing it repetitively. We all know this works. That is exactly how they're integrating it into our children. That is, if you tell a kid enough times he might have he will eventually be telling himself he has homosexual tendencies. That's not fair to anybody. So be a man. How do you become a man? Well, first you must become a man yourself. You can't be a mentor unless you first have accomplished and done and understand. So then you say, well, first become one, practice it, become a person who can then implement that. And you need to implement that into your children. You need to implement that into how you present yourself. You need to implement that into a standard in which you make a stand against. I meant for, sorry. A stand for, and it clearly has things that you will stand against. Then you lead by example. There's so many times that some of us aren't the greatest with words. Some of us struggle in this scenario, that scenario. But you know what? Always is proven. Lead by example. And people will actually respect you from their own eyes. They will have their own reasons to say, I learned that from this man who woke up unchangeable and XYZ. And I'm going to tell you guys, in today's world, it's not easy. We all understand that. Why is it not easy? Look at today's world. That is going to go very much against what everyone is pushing. You are going to be challenged. You're going to be challenged for being a man, yet alone trying to implement that to others. you'll be seen, and the words will get twisted. Your intentions will be twisted. They're going to say, they're going to attack it with the fact that you are male toxicity, that you're bullying, that you are not leading a freeing life, that you are actually forcing your children to, and that's just going to happen. Be a man. Say, I don't care. I love them so much. I out of love, am not going to back down. I'm going to sacrifice these repercussions. And guys, it's not as bad as we all think. They actually are not going to sit there and really come at you as much as their bark is more than their bite. And don't get me wrong, there are times it will come back. Have faith. And so you go, well, what if? What if? Let me point something out. There's no law saying you cannot be a man. They're setting all these laws. They got the ball rolling on why they're trying to take that out. But right now, come on. Just, there's no laws. Just understand, there's no laws saying you can't do the manly things, to have great influence, to practice yourself. Go play catch. If you're one of those people who's like, catch isn't my thing, go camping. Go fishing. Go have these things that are exercising, allowing men to be men. It doesn't matter what your niche is, your personality. Go just do that and teach that to the next generation, so that when they say, hey, I don't know what to do, I can't change a flat tire, I don't know how to fix A, B, and C, go learn that yourself. Because as a man, it's required, not a suggestion. Women are starting to get this intent, or this like thought that, well, he must be really manly if he knows how to fix things, if he has knowledge on things. You know, we call that smart women, but we call it being a man. Why? We're not trying to say men are smart. That should be an innate thing that you just naturally have, that curiosity, that ambition, and that desire to be the protector and the fixer and all these things. If a woman does it, then she is ambitious, and by all rights, I'm not saying this in any derogatory way. A woman is either in a tight spot, she's extra ambitious, she may be extremely intelligent, she may be really motivated and driven, but a man should by nature have this. Learn it. Don't use the excuse, I'm too scared, I don't want to look dumb. Those are excuses in which don't hurt only you, they hurt your next generation. You are being part of the problem if you let your pride get the best of you. And so guys, if you're wondering, I'm going to leave it pretty basic on this video about what are those things that create being a man? How do you exercise that? What are the things that I'm saying when it is like the by innate nature? Look into the first two videos. Like I've said, they will explain that, and I spent more time on that because I don't want to waste our time on that in this video, because this video is about, this is how what we're dealing with now can be turned around by taking action now and implementing it into the future. So first learn, then become, and teach. Because you got to understand something, guys. Our society was slowly disassembled, one piece at a time, taking away what men innately do. It started, and it is on us, guys. I don't care what anybody says. It may not 100% be men's responsibility in every aspect, but the vast majority as leaders, this is why they have so easily got away with saying men ruined it, men did this. We are guilty by not doing anything. We're guilty by passing the buck or taking it when we get the slide. Sliding is an act. It's an act of letting something crumble. So guys, take yourself some real courage. Take yourself to the next spot and say, I think it's worth trying. It's worth trying to step up and say, if I don't, do these things, it is how my life is going to slowly fall apart. And I promise you, it will. It will slowly be picked apart. First as an individual, then as a society, and then as a, you can put the handwriting on the wall of what the next generation is going to have to either pick up your spot and what you left behind and what you did not address and take care of. The mess gets bigger and bigger. And if you want to turn that around, this generation is who it has to rely on, because that is something that it may be a big burden and you may have the right to whine, but be a man, don't whine. Be a part of the solution, because Rome was not built in one day. It took many, many men over many, many years. And we all know the sayings, Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was the disassembling of Western culture and all this chaos. It was not done in a day, guys. So don't worry about every individual thing. Worry about how to become a man yourself. Don't resist your innateness and why you're doing it. Don't fall for the, well, I got told and I'm going to be unpopular if I actually start implementing these things. You are statistically in search of getting more depressed, going down a path of more and more problems. This is an unhealthy lifestyle in which we all can see. Try implementing this and see how much better life gets. To not get caught up in the mayhem. To sit down and feel confident. To feel like you have destiny of worth, value, and something that you can pass on and take pride in that. That you were actually a man and you fulfilled your spot. So if there's anything, we love to hear feedback. If you have any questions, please hit the like and subscribe. I would love to give any kind of further discussion, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Like we always say, we love people's feedback, whether it's for or against us. But do us a favor and don't waste our time. If you have an honest question, we actually would love to help you, and we would love to, if we can help you, guide you to someone else who could. So thanks again for watching. I hope that you guys will hit the like and subscribe button and give some feedback so that we can further this discussion and we can actually build something that is better for the next generation and turn this crazy mayhem of society around. So until next time, thanks for watching.